Hey guys, welcome back. So for today's video, I thought that I would basically chat with you about the books that I have read recently. Now, September is upon us, and I cannot lie, I'm getting very excited for fall. But before we dive into all of the fall reads, I want to clear the slate, talk about the books that I have read over the last month to two, before we really dive into all things fall. So as usual, if you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments so we can talk about it. But without further ado, here we go. Okay, so for the sake of this video, I really just want to talk about all of the cozies and mysteries that I have read. I did read a few romances, but it's the cozies, honestly, that have been the standout over the last couple of months. So starting with Sticks and Scones, that is number 19 in the Bake Shop Mystery series. I read that kind of toward the beginning of the summer, and I absolutely loved it so much. I rated it 5 stars. I'm trying to remember by looking at my notes what I said. Oh, yes. I definitely teared up. So not to necessarily give too much away, but there was kind of a huge change or shift in the storyline that's really going to, I think, impact the future books, which, side note, the latest Ellie Alexander Bake Shop Mystery Series book is coming out very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you're a fan. But I love this one so much, and this series, I believe, will be ending, though I don't know at what book, but at some point Ellie has kind of hinted or mentioned that she would like to wrap up the series, and just knowing that as I was reading this book probably lent itself to why I felt so emotional, but that kind of kicked off my summer of cozies, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so this next book is not even a book, but rather a series. I totally binged the first, I want to say 6 books in the Killer Coffee Mystery series by Tonya Kappes. Oh my goodness, I don't know what took me so long to read this series, but I'm so glad that I picked it up because it quickly became one that was obviously bingeable. So just to kind of give you a premise, if you're unfamiliar with the series, it is about a woman who moves to Honey Springs, and it's kind of course, this small town. She decides to open up a cute little coffee shop along the water. The boardwalk has a bunch of cute shops, and her coffee stand is going to be amongst them. So of course you've kind of got all of the goings on. What I loved and what made me really binge this series was immediately the sense of community. I fell in love with the characters so much, and I also love, in addition to all of the coffee references, which by the way there are a lot, you also get animal references as well, which I thought was so cute. So in the first book, she does end up adopting a dog. That's not really spoiler, because if you look at the covers, you can see that a dog is prominent on all of the books. But beyond that first book, all of the subsequent books, she pairs up with the owner of the local ASPCA to essentially feature an animal every week in her coffee shop, so that the patrons could essentially be tempted to adopt the animal. And it's not just dogs, but there's cats. I think at one point there might be oh my gosh, is there a bunny? I'm not sure, but there's definitely a variety of animals, one featured in every book, that I think is so sweet, because in addition to getting your cozy mystery fix, you also kind of get this warm and fuzzy feeling when it comes to pets being adopted. One thing I also want to say about the series is that I listened to it on audio, and it's so good on audio, so I definitely recommend it. The author does a really good job with the accents, because Honey Springs is in the South, and the sleuth kind of has like a southern twang, which I thought was so charming, and it really lends itself to the story. Okay, so this next book that I read wasn't a cozy, but actually a thriller. It's called You Are Fatally Invited by Pliego, and it took me for a ride, you guys. It was definitely a lot more twisted than I was expecting, though admittedly I was coming off of the heels of reading a cozy, which we know was not at all gory, but I loved it because there were different points of view. in every chapter, and so with that you kind of get like a little bit of unreliable narrator. Obviously you get the story from all sides, and it just really enhanced the overall experience. So what this one is about is a group of authors are invited to spend the weekend at the house of this reclusive, albeit super famous mystery author. And so each of them jump at the chance because, well, for a variety of reasons. Some of them look up to him, some of them allegedly have worked with this author before, some of them are looking for inspiration and hoping that this author can kind of give them tips and maybe kind of contribute ideas. But when they get there, they don't see their host. And so things start happening and they realize that the hostess kind of brought them there for some kind of twisted and sick game. And yes, the games are afoot. Let's just kind of put it that way. And like I said, I really love this. I have in my notes that between the character archetypes and the pacing of the story, I could actually really see this making a really good movie. And I stand by that. It's been some months, or weeks rather, since I've read it. And I think that that still holds up because, again, you've got just the right amount of characters. So you kind of get that clue or Poirot element, and along with kind of that Agatha Christie locked door, you get the kind of games, right, that are very reminiscent of Saw, you know, where you've got like this puppet master orchestrating all these things. So anyway, highly recommend checking it out if you're into thrillers. Okay, so the next one, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot about this one. This is a book, you guys, that put me into a book slump. Now, I didn't want to admit it at the time. I was in denial, but it was like a full 3 weeks after reading this that I was finally able to pick up another story. So I'm talking about The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I have seen this book everywhere for years because I want to say it came out a couple years ago, but I had never really shown any interest. And then lo and behold, I read the kind of first couple chapter samples on my Kindle and was hooked immediately. And I'm so mad that I waited so long because, number one, it's told in like epistolary style, which essentially means that it's told through a series of letters. So in this case, you've got like emails and text messages, and you've got a wide variety of characters too, obviously kind of doing the corresponding. And again, I had no idea what to expect going in, but I was so fascinated and drawn in by like this intricate tale that you see played out throughout these emails. So just to give you a very bird's eye view of what the story is about, you've got this local community play group that have decided to band together because the kind of main director or owner or whatever of said play group, their granddaughter was recently diagnosed with kind of some form of cancer or something like that. And so the community bands together to not only go forth with the play, but try to find different ways to raise money so that the granddaughter can have treatment. And that does sound a little grim, I admit, but that's just real surface level to kick things off. What happens after that is just a variety of things. So like how they get their money, and like how some of them lose the money, and you know, what you really see is people's true nature coming out through these emails and text messages, which really makes it interesting. Last up, this was the book that I just finished reading last week, and this was the first book after my book hangover of The Appeal. And so the one that I'm talking about is Aunt Dimity's Death. This is the first book in the Aunt Dimity mystery series. It's an older mystery series. Technically it's a cozy, and don't quote me on this, but I did read somewhere at the time that it's kind of one of the most checked out books in the UK. Which totally tracks because I have seen this series in droves every time I go to my library. I don't even live in the UK, obviously, but it's really popular amongst readers because there are, one, so many books, and two, judging by how the first book goes, I can totally see the appeal to the series. So this one, I just describe it as whimsical, cozy, enchanting, which again, for this to not necessarily be a paranormal cozy, I was not expecting it. Now I will say I went into this blind not knowing anything besides just the fact that it's super popular, and I'm glad that I did because I went in with zero expectations and they were far exceeded. So with this one, you have this woman who is kind of going through a tough time. Her mom just died kind of some time before that. She went through a divorce. She's living in like a small shared apartment and like temp jobs left and right, just not really living her best life. And she gets a letter from a law office telling her to come in because one of her mother's friends has left her something in the will. Now, I really don't want to give too much away when it comes to this story because the twist that happens in the beginning was twisty to me. But just know essentially that we fast forward and this woman ends up needing to complete a series of tasks in the UK. So she's in America and she gets sent to the UK and she's having to do all of these things to complete the challenge before she can fulfill the obligations of the will. I will say, because I have this in my notes and I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I described it this way because I totally agree still that if I had to describe this book, I would say that it was Tim Burton's Big Fish meets the Amelia Bedelia series, which those two are just so different. But trust me, if you were to have read this book, you'll totally know what I'm talking about. And again, I feel like without knowing much about the story, you should kind of go into it blind. I feel like that enhances or rather lends itself to the whimsy of the series. Anyway, needless to say, I rated it 5 stars and I have already checked out book 2, but I have not gone far enough in to quite get what the kind of concept of the series is, because based on the first book you think that it's going to center around the woman who got something left in the will, but I haven't seen her pop up in the second book yet, so I don't know if we're actually switching to different main characters. I don't know. I will keep you guys posted once I get further into book 2. Okay, so there you have it. Like I said, I have read more books than that, but I really just wanted to catch you up all on the recent mystery / thriller books that I've read because those are the ones that have been standout for me so far. We've got the start of at least 2, to me, new cozy series that I've fallen in love for immediately, and I'm just so excited to lean into fall reads. So if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. I'm actually compiling a list of fall things. I won't necessarily say what they are, but keep your eyes posted on my Instagram as well as my YouTube channel, and you can kind of see what I share through those avenues. So thank you so much, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. In the meantime, I will talk to y'all later. Happy reading. Bye!